This is why Elon Musk is so popular in China. Like the Chinese people, I would say majority loves him to death. All right. He's so popular in China. And we'll break it down from few different areas. I'm only gonna approach them from a common sense perspective also. Why Elon Musk is so popular. Hey guys, welcome back to Common Sense. I'm Dave. And today we're gonna break down why Elon Musk is so popular in China from a common sense perspective. Yeah, and that's right. As a Chinese immigrant, Chinese American, who's a proud American, I gotta say, I'm a big fan of Elon Musk, right? So I did some research. I asked all my friends back in China, what are y'all thoughts about Elon Musk? I gotta say, right? Doesn't matter my friends who live in the older city, my friends who live in the tier S city like Shanghai or Beijing, everybody's a big fan of Elon Musk. And we're gonna break it down, right? To show you why he's so popular. The first perspective I wanna look at is social beliefs. Why is Elon Musk so popular? Well, the things that he believes, his social, his like philosophy that he believes in is also the mainstream philosophy that's popular in China. Right? Just to give you a little bit of perspective for those who don't understand, who haven't been to China or lived in China for a long time. The general public, well, if you came from China or have a background growing up in China, just give you a little bit of background about myself, right? For those who don't know me. Well, I grew up in China for about 17, 18 years and then came to the United States. Did my civil engineering, graduated as an engineer, works engineer, got my citizenship through the legal process, and now I'm a proud US citizen. Now, with that background in mind, right, the Chinese unique culture have given me a lot of insights or observer perspective into the American culture as well. But just to give you a little bit of background about the general idea or the philosophy the Chinese people believe in. By large, I would say the Chinese culture is very socially liberal and economically conservative. So what does that mean? Like you can ask any Chinese people if they came from China and they speak Chinese, right? And they're here in the United States. If you have some friends like that, you can ask them, do you believe in gay rights? Do you believe in like abortion, all that kind of stuff? They will say, yeah, you can do whatever you want. Chinese people in general don't give a freak about what you do with yourself, right? With your body, with your family, with your own affairs. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you, right? Whatever you believe, it's up to you. Freedom of religion, freedom of your expression, you know, whatever your sexual orientation is, however you want to call yourself. Oh, you want me to call you a unicorn, dress you by a unicorn? I can do that. Chinese culture is very respectful, right? I will dress you however the way you want. Doesn't matter if it makes sense or not to me, as long as you're happy, right? Because we're respectful. So socially, we're very open and very progressive to anything that comes, you know, into the society. But economically, Chinese people are very conservative in a sense where you would say like budget, where we're responsible for budget, like you wouldn't spend money that you don't have. So the credit card thing, when I first came, is a cultural shock to me, especially now how much like America is in debt. You truly get to see a different perspective of like, just different culture, right? Of the Chinese culture and American culture. The Chinese people will never spend money they don't have. So a lot of all my friends who have the Chinese background, for example, they will just never, they'll use a credit card, but it's always paying full. In fact, last time I saw the banker and he was explaining to me about paying full credit card and then not paying full in credit card. This is the first time I heard about people not paying full. Like, well, I wouldn't say not paying full, but that's the first time I heard about there's actually a separation of how cards are categorized. I was like, what? But why would you do that? Isn't it common sense that people just, you know, pay in full? But anyways, apparently it's different here. You know, even after about 2 decades of living in the United States, I guess something just never changed. Okay, anyways, with that in mind, let's talk about Elon Musk's social belief, right? So it's just, all of those are just backgrounds. Now, Elon Musk, I asked Grok, I've seen, by the way, I've been following Elon Musk for quite some time. I've seen quite a bit of his tweets, and there are a lot of them. But recently he has been tweeting about an event that's happening in Europe about a guy being stabbed and all that. So it was quite a mess what's happening in Europe and UK, right? And I don't want to get into any politics. What I want to talk about is general philosophy. It's hard to find all those tweets, so I decided to ask Grok. And it turned out most of the answers are pretty accurate. I guess it is Elon Musk's company. So Elon Musk, let's just read it through and we're going to talk about point by point, right? Elon Musk's social belief are a mix of I don't even know how to read this word. Pronatalism, strong opposition to woke ideology, commitment to meritocracy, free speech absolutism, and a concern for Western civilization's long-term survival. This is all very. I mean, I don't know what this is, right? The pronatalism. Let me read. Let me ask this. What is this? What is this word? Bro, you cannot give me this word and I just don't understand what it means or how to say it. Pronatalism. Okay, that's how we read it. Is a belief or a policy position that encourages people to have more children. Oh, okay. Pronatalism. All right, that's what it means, right? So, pronatalism in a family. Elon Musk is one of the most vocal advocates for having more children. And that is so true. I don't know how many kids he has now, right? How many kids does Elon Musk have now? This is actually such an interesting. You can just ask Grok anything and they'll give you all the accurate answers. Well, most of the accurate answers. As of June 2026, Elon Musk had 14 children, one of whom his firstborn Nevada passed away as an infant in 2002. Wow, that's pretty sad. All of these are his children. I mean, this is a breakdown by mothers. Justin Wilson, and there's all the kids. Triplets. One is, I think one kid is called an X. Yeah, that's crazy. You know, what I don't know is whether he actually had sex with all these women and then have kids, or, it is just like biological. I'm not so sure because I heard rumors about Elon Musk will just try to ask the female, like really intelligent with good genetics, to have babies together, not necessarily married or, engaging a sexual relationship. But I'm not sure, right? And then that's also beyond my interest. I don't really care. But going back to having family, he has 14 kids right now, and he encouraged people to have a lot of kids. We are in a population collapse in a lot of Western society, and in a developed society. I think China right now is about 1 total birth rate, and you need 2.1 for replacement, right? Two parents, and you have more than 2 kids in order to replace the 2 people who are dying. Makes sense. But right now, and I think Korea is less than 0.7. China is at 1. US, I think, is 1.6 last time I read. It's all declining, which is crazy. But at the same time, I feel like having kids is like a luxury for reaching certain economic status, which is getting harder and harder to do now. Even though like Elon Musk is saying this, but it's just harder to do, right? But I agree. I do think family need to have kids. And then I think maybe with AI in the future and people can just have more free time, maybe the society will change back to having more kids, right? But that's too simple of I would say logic, because there are many different things. What if the kids got born, but there are no jobs? But also, what if there's no need for a job because AI agents or robotics will do everything for humans? I mean, we just don't know. Maybe we're actually living in utopia 50 years from now, right? Anyways, the point is, having more kids do make sense because human lineage, right? Our human legacy should be prolonged. And then think about the entire history of human beings, the past few thousand years. Any link, if it's broken, there won't be you and I today, right? If any of your great-grandparents, your ancestor decided, I don't want to have sex tonight, the night that you were, concepted, right? You become like a fertilized egg. Well, there won't be you. So think about how profound that is, right? So I do think we should have children. And the Chinese families, if you ask any one of them, they encourage their kids to have babies. And I think one of the biggest headache right now among a lot of seniors, like parents, my parents' age, is their kids not having babies, or aka them not having grandkids. There are a lot of socioeconomic burdens for me. That was the main reason for the longest time. But now I'm trying our best to have babies, right? Me and my wife. And then let's look at a second thing. Anti-woke mind virus. He repeatedly criticized woke ideology as a harmful, especially regarding gender issues. He has said it killed his son and calls for purging it. This includes strong opposition to certain transgender policies for minors. Regarding transgenderism, like the Chinese people, I would say Chinese philosophy, or in general, it's like, again, social liberal. Nobody cares. But the Chinese people, from what I understand, because I'm one of them, is extremely common sense. Which means like certain stuff just doesn't make any sense, right? Like you don't allow kids to drink unless they're 21-year-old. But somehow if a kid want to like change his gender or her gender when they're 5, 6 years old, that's protected And parents can't even have a say in it in a lot of states, right? In America. That's just lunatic. That's crazy. That's not common sense, or that's not supporting, like, you want to change your gender or not. That's just people being crazy. And I don't know how politicians are supporting this. I don't even know how many votes are getting for doing that. If you think about from like a more pragmatic standpoint, because it just sounds stupid. You cannot, same thing as America, the voting law thing, right? It's not about like not giving people rights to vote. It's like when I came to the United States when I was 18 years old, I cannot do anything without an ID. I couldn't go to the bar. I couldn't do anything, right? Because especially as an international student at the time, it's more extreme. Like anywhere I go, my ID is checked, right? And you would think the election for the highest office on the land is probably should be treated with the most amount of respect and the most amount of checks, right? But yet, there are a lot of states arguing for no ID voting, which doesn't make any sense. It's against common sense. Because like, if you believe in one thing, you should use that philosophy for everything you do. But it seems like in the society, modern society in America, especially in a lot of states, it's like the certain rules only applied in certain areas. And then the same philosophy wouldn't apply in other areas, which just tell you it's not really their belief. It's just a game, right? For a lot of people that they're playing. Same as like transgendering kids. It just makes no sense. A lot of argument are saying kids cannot make their own judgment because, their brains haven't developed. I'm not a biologist. I have no idea. I was a civil engineer who started a social media company. I had no idea about kids, right? Like how their biology work. But you have to be consistent with your philosophy. If you think kids can't make their decisions and parents should make decisions for them, then that should be consistent through all your belief, right? Then you shouldn't allow kids to make one decision. If they cannot change back. Those are decisions that they just can't change back anymore. So you have to be extra cautious. Wouldn't it make more sense to do that, right? So, I mean, that's something that, like, I do think the anti-woke mind virus, as he was saying, you can totally understand. And a lot of Chinese people get behind it because it makes common sense. In a way, Elon Musk is just a very, very common sense person. All right, let's talk about DEI. Well, this is getting increasingly political, but DEI is something that's quite interesting because from the Chinese culture, which is where I grew up, is mostly homogenous and everybody is Chinese. So it's a very different culture. There's not much input that we can put in here, but I do think that most common sense people would agree that meritocracy is a number one metric when they use to build a company, build a team. Like if I want to build anything, it doesn't really care. I don't really care about, your race, your gender, none of that. It's just all your capabilities. Like I'm in the esports industry, and when I look to build a team, gender, race is the last thing on our mind. Esports is one of the best industries where there's no such thing as like inequality. Everybody's equal in terms of in front of the games. It's just whether you're good at the video games or not. So I would say everybody agree to this, but in reality, there are many different forms where the quote unquote DEI is being manifested. And I think a lot of people are kind of pissed in the United States, but it's such a complicated topics in US. So I don't want to get too much into it because I simply don't understand it enough. And the next thing is free speech absolutist. I think this is quite interesting. It's more of a cultural shock, but there's also a lot of hypocrisy regarding the free speech absolutist. Or I would say not necessarily hypocrisy, more of a dilemma, for someone who has a Chinese background, who grew up in China. Because like one thing that attracted a lot of people, not just, people from China, but all over the world about US is free speech. But you come over here, it's not really free speech, right? During the pandemic, now you see more and more people, especially when you grow older and more mature and get more involved in the society, and you will probably notice, and then, by the way, the deeper you get, I would say the older you grow and the deeper you get involved in the society, you're bound to get more political. It's not like I wanted to. It's just that a lot of issues that we're involved in, regarding taxes and all kind of stuff, a lot of it is political. And you will notice a bunch of people in the Western society, in the United States, when they try to execute their free speech, they're canceled. And sometimes in a very extreme way. Like there's people being assassinated for just talking on campus. Like there are just a lot of, I would say, danger in the United States or Western civilization when you try to execute your free speech. But Elon Musk has very good security because he's really rich. But this doesn't really work on normal people. A lot of people career got canceled when they try to execute free speech. I think most common sense people don't like to talk about politics at all. You know, me, for example, I just don't see any point because I respect everybody's political point because it reflects their philosophy, and everybody form their philosophy from their own experiences, their own perspective of the world. Let's just say everyone have different viewpoints. I respect everybody's opinions. End of the day, whoever holds the power get to execute their viewpoint, right? That's the way how the world works. But, you know, we definitely respect that Elon Musk supports free speech, and he has been pretty clear on that. I would say I supported that. I just don't think the reality works the way that Mr. Musk wanted to work, or anyone who believe in free speech wanted to work. You know, it seems too ideal for society to function, especially for middle class folks. Just, I would say, any common sense folks. Next, Western civilization and culture. He praises the Western's achievements and warns against self-hatred and excessive guilt. He supports national pride and has criticized policies or views that undermine it. This is quite interesting, right? Because in America, you will see like about 50% of the country hate the country. You know, it's so weird. Like, you go to China and ask any like Chinese people who grew up in China, people love China, right? Doesn't matter how difficult a situation it might be. There is an overwhelming general consensus of patriotic views of the country, right? Of the culture. Like, people love the culture they grew up in. They have pride in it. In Western society, you frequently see it, but you frequently don't see it. In fact, you see the opposite of it, right? And I think that's super weird. If you don't like it, if you hate it that much, then you really should find a way to live. To leave, right? Just to exit the country, in my opinion. Like, why torture yourself if you hate it that much? I obviously loved it here, so by large, right? There's things I found cringe. For example, like the homeless issue. I just don't like it. You know, it's such, in my opinion, it's a simple issue that politicians and people argue, oh, it's not a simple issue. It is a simple issue, right? The politicians are just using it to fraud money, and we have seen defraud American people. We have seen so many evidence all across entire America right now, and even the current administration, Trump administration, they try to you know, tackle the fraud cases. I think too many powerful people's interests are getting entangled. That's why you see like only the pawns, the sacrificial lambs are being punished, and only a few of them. The top of the top are still sitting there comfortably, you know, in their mansions or whatnot. Nobody's really being punished. It's kind of sad, but it is what it is, right? Like, going back to this main point, the Western civilization, I do think people should find pride in his own country and learn history. And one thing about it is, like, growing up in China, I'm just compare with my experience, right? We frequently see patriotic movies or shows to understand Chinese history and then hardship. Like, Chinese culture is very, I think the most prideful thing is, with all the hardship the Chinese people have gone through, look at where China is on the global stage, right? But Western civilization has a lot of things that people can be proud of. Instead of being proud of that, the Hollywood, the Western movie, the film industry have largely, I think, criminalized it for some reason. Right now, you watch all the films, it just shows how horrible America is. I don't understand that. I don't know why. Like, the only reason you're able to make films like that, you know, in America is because the Western civilization, the culture, the foundation, the Constitution allows you to do that. I mean, the fact that you don't even see that and you have the audacity just to constantly demonize it, it's kind of hypocritical. And that's one thing that, if anything, that I want to get involved in politics is like, I don't like, first of all, I don't like politics, but if anything that about politics, to the extent that I want to say, is you want to be consistent in your political views. If something you support, you should really think about the underlying philosophy of the political views and live what you preach, right? It's really criminal when someone like Hassan Piker, for example, constantly preach about a lifestyle that he doesn't live. Like, it just doesn't make any sense, right? If you want to preach about equality for all, then you should donate everything you own. Because there are a lot of people watching him that he absolutely despises his own audience, right? There are a lot of people watching him that don't live the lifestyle that he does, and he constantly preach, you know, that kind of lifestyle that he just doesn't live. It's kind of interesting how that works. And then I'm not trying to criticize anyone. I'm just trying to say that if you want to preach anything, we respect them all, but live the things that you're preaching, which is common sense. I would support any politician or anyone who are living the life that they are preaching. I think that's pretty respectful for sure. Other views support gay rights. Again, this is very, very Chinese, right? Chinese people are just very social liberal. We're supportive of everybody, and then skeptical of excessive empathy and policy if it harms society long terms, and value high trust society, rule of law, and cultural continuity, which all makes sense. This is all common sense stuff that anybody can get behind. So there are some tweets that I find that kind of represents, or some tweets that he had done in the past or done recently that represents his viewpoints. For example, he wants more kids, and I just learned that word, right? It's called pro-natalism, which is a cool word. Actually, I just don't know, like PRON, people usually associate this word together, but it's apparently pro-natalism, right? So he said, absolutely, kids are the best. I'm doing my best to encourage more people to become parents, ideally have 3 or more kids so humanity can grow. True, but this is getting harder. I think especially with the fact that mostly because females just can make more money now, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just how society is progressing, right? It's something that we don't know the end result until we get to the end. Right now, we're in the progress of it. A lot of females are getting fully independent financially. And then before, I think marriage is largely a way to protect females' right, to make sure that, they're financially protected in the society. But now, there's no reason. If you think about, in general, girls, the bell curve between guys and girls like larger in the middle, where they're more mature, and then they take up the middle to upper management roles because they're more mature, they're more steady, they're more reliable, where guys are extreme. They're either extremely smart, extremely outperforming everybody else, extremely, high IQ, or they're extremely retarded, right? It's like the two ways of the spectrum. You see a lot of guys in the middle, most females. That's just how the bell curve works, right? So now the people in the middle who are steady can make a lot of money. Then why do they have to rely on guys, right? It's just common sense. They don't. So in that perspective, if they can make their own money, they can support themselves, they can get a good life, why do they have to then bear the responsibility? Because having kids, if you think about it, it's really difficult for females. 9 months, and now we're trying to have kids. It's just a huge responsibility because once you have someone you need to take care of, who has no way to take care of themselves, you're giving up a lot of stuff. Like, for example, travel. Now we're not talking about for a short period amount of time. You're giving up years, not decades, until the kid can fully take care of themselves of just not being able to travel. Especially for Asian families with Asian culture, the body type is different. The doctors recommend you to do different things. You have to take care of your body after giving birth, before giving birth, obviously during pregnancy, all that kind of stuff. So you're giving up years upon years of freedom to go see the world, right? Not talking about, and then on top of that, all the financial burdens and whatnot. This is just, I understand the viewpoint. I fully support it. I think this is increasingly become a luxury for people who can afford it, which is really, really sad. And then let's just see, what AI can do to make this happen. Another thing is this is what Elon Musk tweeted about what's happening in UK, and then about the certain crimes are being very, very treated very softly in the Western civilization. This is true in UK. This is true in the United States. And then by the way, this is very common sense perspective among all Chinese people. I don't want to speak for all Chinese people, but you go to China and just see the law. In China, we believe an eye for an eye, a life for a life, right? If you kill somebody, you should die. Especially unjust, right? Especially you just murder someone out of the cold blood, which happened quite frequently. You've seen a lot of news in the United States where randomly an Asian guy just gets shoved in a subway by a random guy, crazy person, because a lot of people on drugs, on the street, or, in the subway. Or there are a lot of news about guys randomly getting stabbed on the street for no reason. There was one news that's really cold-blooded, a Ukraine refugee on the bus just got stabbed. Those are all really, really sad. For no reason. For that type of crazy people, they shouldn't even be rehabilitated. They should just be straight up executed. I don't understand this. Oh, he has rights. But what about the rights that this guy took away from the girl? I don't get it, right? What about that life? So apparently this murder's right is more important because if we're soft on the murder, we're basically saying by action, one right is more important than the other, which makes no sense. It just doesn't make any sense. It's either equal or not equal, right? If somebody's life got taken away, it makes sense that other person's life should be, the perpetrator should be punished. I can link this tweet. The idea is he was reading all the, different testimony of, the gang at the R word, right? That happened to a lot of innocent females in UK. It's a really sad situation. And Elon Musk retweeted, hang all of them, which I totally agree. If you are a murderer or if you mistreat women with the R word, right? You should have your genitals cut off, right? Like just completely cut off and being publicly displayed, right? The pictures should be displayed in a safe way away from kids, obviously. But it should serve as a punishment. We should bring public shaming back into society. Like the quote unquote soft on crime is such a bad thing that happened to society. We don't even know who brought it up. Like maybe we can do some research in the future. Like how did this happen? How did society become so soft? We should bring back really harsh treatment on criminals. If you bring chaos to society, if you are a murderer and you mistreat women like the R word, right? You should literally be in a really harsh camp and get treated horribly the other way around. Like that's the only way it's fair. That's the only way it's fair. And I totally agree with Elon Musk on that, but I just want to show you some tweet that makes sense. And I think that he also tweeted that try the audiobook of a suicidal empathy, 100% true. I do think Western civilization is increasingly growing into that direction, which is towards suicidal empathy. And I constantly bring this book up, but I think everybody should read this, right? The Changing World Order, because it's so important, along with suicidal empathy. Because like America, after a country getting so developed, when the country is so developed and people's life are so easy, relatively speaking, like people think the life is hard here in the United States. Like, that's because you don't have a perspective growing up in another country. Like try growing up in another country and a lot of things that you see as, like the free healthcare and everything that's free here. You're like, oh my God, are you saying that's actually not supposed to be free? That we just made it free? Like, yeah, like you will gain a completely different perspective. Those things are not rights. They're entitlements, right? Like all the healthcare and then school, housing. When we came here, one of the biggest cultural shocks is everything's, people are preaching to make them free. They're quote unquote human rights. No, they were not. Who said they were human rights? Did your God tell you those human rights? Like what happened? Who said it was human rights? It's like a societal construct. It's not a right. It's an entitlement. It's a privilege that American society has granted because the country is getting so rich and there's so much. And also it's built on something called fiat money. It's unsound money. It's fake money. It's constantly being printed by the government, by the Federal Reserve. That's what gave people this false sense of security. And this false sense of security that when it grows older, when it gets goes over time, like when it's actually, I would say, boiling a pot for a long period of time, people become soft. And they grow something called suicidal empathy because they think we have so much money. We have infinite money. Why not just help everybody, right? Why not just bring infinite amount of people here? But that's not how it works. And anyone who grew up in the actual society, understand hardship, will understand this, right? And then if you go to China, ask anyone, they do not understand. Like a lot of friends see what's happening in US that I have in China. They see it as funny and they see why is it happening? Nobody understands what's happening in the US right now. But you come here, you get a completely different perspective, especially when you live here for decades, right? Because then you understand, the society is changing. People are getting so soft. And this book has all of it in it, right? When a country gets so rich for a long period of time, the people becoming soft, they get away from STEM, they start just more and more people getting into literature, which is not really, in my opinion, not really a true discipline. It's weird, and I don't think there should be student loans allowed for that because you can't find a job after. It's pure scam, right? People get into literature, they come out, they can't find a job, they owe $200,000 student loans, and they come out working for McDonald's, studying literature. Like, how does that even work? They should be told the truth that you can't find a job with that. And if you want to, those degrees, I think should exist, but should only exist for rich people who can afford it, right? If you really don't want to study anything and you're just too rich, sure. Right? Go pay for it if you can pay for it. If you can't pay for it, you should for sure not be allowed to get a loan for it because you won't be able to find a job and you for sure won't be able to pay it back. That's just how it works, right? It's just common sense and reality. So going back to suicidal empathy, I highly recommend you read this book by Gas Said. It's pretty true, right? Because that's where America's going. And then sadly, I don't think there's anything we can do about it. The wheel of the history just gonna keep on rolling forward, and there's not enough force that can stop it for now, in my opinion, in my humble but I think largely correct opinion, because history has never ceased to impress us that history never change. People just never change. This is also another thing that Elon Musk talked about, wokeness, that he didn't like. By the way, I don't think wokeness is just pure left. Wokeness is just the same thing to like suicidal empathy. It's just people getting too soft. I think that's what it is. And they have nothing else to do, so they just start making up stuff, literally. But most important thing that I would say why Elon Musk is so popular among the Chinese people who actually grew up in China, I would say, right? Or have a Chinese cultural background or understanding, is his achievement. Like in Chinese culture, one thing is heavily praised is don't look at somebody's words because words are useless. Look at somebody's actions and the results. You only want to learn from people who have actually done things in the society or achieved things in the society, because experience. One famous person I learned from, well, I wouldn't say famous, very, very good philosopher. I forgot his, I have a brain fart, I can't remember his name, but he says something that's really profound. I remember what he taught, which is that experience is not really experience. Their evaluated experience is experience. Because you frequently see a lot of seniors who are like, much more, I would say, advanced than regular people in life, but they're not there. If experience is really valuable, then every older seniors should be like more advanced in life than all of younger people. But that's just not how it works if you look at the society in large, right? But evaluated experience is experience, because like people actually achieve something. That means they have understand certain things that other people don't, because their experience has been verified by the society, So the Chinese culture by large actually praise that and understand that. And we like to learn from people who are successful in life because they have demonstrated by action they can do it. And Elon Musk is exactly that type of person, right? Look at SpaceX. You can't get more exciting than SpaceX. It's just so cool. Like, look at, it's literally going to the Mars and he's making the planet multi-planetary, right? Look at this. I remember a few years ago, this is what SpaceX looks like. And now where it's at, right? In a few years, SpaceX planning to send people to Mars. It's just so incredible. If you look at all the launches, one of my goals is to go watch one of the SpaceX launch in action, like in real life, because I believe in it. And another cool thing is like look at my personal family progression, right? Where my parents came from, where my great-grandparents came from. They came from a small village. My parents went to a much bigger city. It's still a small city on a national scale. And then now my sister is in Shanghai and I'm in Austin, Texas. So it seemed like the family had just progressed every step along the way, because even though my parents didn't know much about finances or technology, but they always had a heart to progress the family. They understand the family lineage, the family legacy. I think the next step to progress the family is send our kids to Mars. So I don't know whether, God willing, right? If our kids want to do that. But I certainly, if I would support anything, I would support human to become multi-planetary. I think that makes sense, right? We're long due. Earth is long due for a meteor strike. And that's just, they always say don't put all the eggs in one basket. Earth is literally one big fat basket. People need to leave. People need to leave this planet to save human race. And right now, I think we're so behind to think that our entire world is still like this country going against that country, war, killing populations. It's so sad. Instead of like just thinking about how to move human out of Earth, right? How to move human to another planet. I think that should be more important. Going back to it, right? You have XAI that Elon Musk is constantly competing on. XAI, Tesla, they have all kind of progressed together, right? You have XAI become a thing. This is entire ecosystem he's building. There's no one more futuristic than Elon Musk. He's literally the modern real life sci-fi, right? I think Elon Musk will go down history probably was one of the most influential person, the Napoleon Hill of 21st century. I don't know, right? He's so incredibly influential in the modern society because everything he does, it cannot be evaluated by the current value because it's setting foundation for the future. You know, like XAI and Tesla. It seems like, oh, it's just a car company and an AI company everybody else is doing. But no, it's like a whole ecosystem. You know, I truly believe in it. Tesla is using different technology to build self FSDs, right? Full self-driving technology. It's more advanced than any other FSDs out there. Look at Porsche. It's such a shitty FSDs. I don't know why they don't just like work with Tesla and then, hey, here is gazillion billion dollars. I mean, gazillion dollars, please let us use your FSDs, right? Like their car self-driving technology is so bad. It baffles you when you drive it. You know, it's one of those worst self-driving technologies. You can't even center the car in the middle of the lane. Look at Tesla FSDs. Jesus, you know, imagine like how expensive that car is. It doesn't even have like a basic FSD, like level 1/5 of the technology. 5 years ago FSD from Tesla. Crazy, crazy. Optimus, yeah. If you go to any Tesla demo stores and then you show stores and you look at the Optimus robots, they're good looking robots, and all of those will link together with how fast XAI is progressing. Geez, there's another thing that in Texas right now, Starbase, Texas apparently is a city. I didn't even know. It's like closer to South Padre on the southern tips of Texas. For sure, I will visit, right? It's an actual city now, and they just celebrated a 1 year of birthday. 1 year ago today, Starbase officially became a city. In that time, we've hosted multiple Starship flight tests, growing our community. Bro, if I don't do a lot of international travels, which I frequently do because our projects in, for example, like going to Asian countries or European countries, I would love to live in a smaller city. Starbase seemed like one of those. It's just so cool. Imagine like a city where everybody is aspired to go intergalactic. Man, it's in Texas. I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of the fact that this is in Texas. And just think about what Elon Musk is doing, like action-wise. Not talking about how much money he has, because money is pointless for him. This guy was giving away $1 million a day during like campaign days when he was campaigning for Trump. He has so much money that what is tens of millions or hundreds of millions to him, right? It probably shows up as interest every day or every second in his bank account. He just doesn't care. The thing about him is asset allocation, right? Because he has so much money, it's not about the luxury items. He can buy anything in the world, literally the richest man in the world. It's just about how he allocates the resources. That's a lot more effective than any politicians in history. So we love Elon Musk. I'm personally a big, big fan of him. If there's anyone I would trust, is from Elon Musk, right? Because he doesn't give a fuck. He has fuck you money. Like he just said whatever comes to his mind because he doesn't care. You can't control him. He can buy the entire state. You know, like you can't control him. That's when you know somebody's words is trustworthy. Because there's like from a hierarchy of needs, he doesn't need anything else in a society. So there's no reason for him to lie unless it's for a higher purpose. Like what? So he lies. Think about your logic. Oh, Elon Musk tried to like, you know, make $2 billion extra. Are you kidding me? Like, do you think he actually cares? He's still probably living in the same house with the same cars, with the same plane. Doesn't matter how much more money he makes or his net worth increases. It doesn't change his life. At one coyote, more money to him, it is more asset allocations to build for human race, right? So I trust Elon Musk more than I trust anyone else in American politics or just landscape. He represents the future, literally. And that's, I think, why he's so popular among the Chinese or the Asian community in general. This is my 2 cents. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about Elon Musk. And I'll see you guys next time.